Morning. Ooh. Good morning, everyone. That woke you up. Also kept you quiet, too. Hi, I am the Reverend Suzie Matranga-Watson, and I am your worship leader this morning. It's a beautiful day, beautiful day. First things first, please turn your phone either on silent or totally off. Just makes life easier for all of us. Okay. Eastrose acknowledges that for at least 13,000 years, many tribes and bands have made their lives here, where our church home and our communities now exist. We remember and honor these people who made their homes in this land, the ones here now, and those who lived here before. In peace, may we share this land and honor one another. So let's take a moment and greet each other today, both in the chapel and online. Please stand and turn around and face the clock for those online and wave at them and welcome them. And then turn to your neighbor and say hello. Service. We can talk more with coffee and tea. Okay. This is a responsive call to worship. Now, I will do the yellow. I don't have yellow here on my script. And you will do the white. Let us worship with our eyes and ears and fingertips. Let us love the world through heart and mind and body. We feed our eyes upon the mystery and the revelation in the facts, in the faces of our brothers and sisters.
We seek to know the wistfulness of the very young and the very old, the wistfulness of people in all times of life.
We seek to understand the shyness behind the arrogance, the fear behind the pride, the tenderness behind clumsy strength, the anguish behind cruelty. All life flows into a great common life if we will only open our eyes to our companions. Let us worship, not in bowing down, not with closed eyes and stopped ears. Let us
Worship with the opening of all the windows of our beings, with the full outstretching of our spirits.
Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears, confiding, with a rising wave too great to be held in the mind and heart and body to those who have fallen in love with life. Let us worship and let us learn to love. The chalice sliding words. Oh.
Ready?
Beautiful. Love it. Okay. Chalice sliding words are from Erica Heller Wagner. Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of the human spirit touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason, the fire of compassion, the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow in everyday life.
Good morning. I'm Rev Robin Zucker, the minister of the congregation, and I welcome you. I see a bunch of new people today, which is so great. We definitely look forward to getting to know you better and chatting with you after the service. We hope you have a good morning with us today. And I want to acknowledge Karen Perez, who's going to be drumming with us today. Thank you, Karen, with Barbara. You're already off to such a great start. So our service today looks at ritual, and it looks at ritual objects. And you can see Mary and I have put together an altar with things both that we brought from home, but interestingly, all I had to do was walk around our building, my own office and the other rooms, and find just so many things that represent ritual and honoring rituals. So I start with these opening words by my colleague Lisa Friedman called "We Touch the Floor." We touch the floor to remember that wherever we bring our best self is holy ground. We reach for the sky to remember that we are part of a mystery that is much bigger than ourselves. We hold hands to remember that we need one another and that we are part of the human family. We join voices to remember that we each have a gift to offer the world and to use it in making the world a holier and better place. We will deepen into our service today with our first hymn. It's "Gathered Here," number 389 in the gray hymnal. The words will also be on the screen. We'll sing it 3 times. Barbara will play it once through to get us started. Please rise as you are willing and able.
Welcome. Today's story is called Drum Dream Girl, written by Margarita Engel and illustrated by Rafael Lopez. Written as a poem with the rhythm of drums, it was inspired by the childhood of a Chinese African Cuban girl who broke Cuba's traditional taboo against female drummers. In 1932, at the age of 10, Milo Castro Zaldariaga performed with her older sisters as Ana Caona, Cuba's first all-girl dance band. Milo became a world-famous musician, playing alongside all the American jazz greats of the era. At age 15, she played her bongo drums at a New York birthday celebration for US President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, where she was enthusiastically cheered by First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. There are now many female drummers in Cuba. Thanks to Milo's courage, becoming a drummer is no longer an unattainable dream for girls on the island. Drum Dream Girl. On an island of music in a city of drum beats, the drum dream girl dreamed of pounding tall conga drums, tapping small bongo drums, and boom, boom, booming with long, loud sticks on big, round, silvery, moon-bright timbales. But everyone on the island of music in the city of drum beats believed that only boys should play drums. So the drum dream girl had to keep dreaming quiet, secret drum beat dreams. At outdoor cafes that looked like gardens, she heard drums played by men, but when she closed her eyes, she could also hear her own imaginary music. When she walked under wind-wavy palm trees in a flower-bright park, She heard the whir of parrot wings, the clack of woodpecker beaks, the dancing tap of her own footsteps, and the comforting pat of her own heartbeat. At carnivals, she listened to the rattling beat of towering dancers on stilts and the dragon clang of costumed drummers wearing huge masks. At home, her fingertips rolled out their own dreamy drum rhythm on tables and chairs. And even though everyone kept reminding her that girls on the island of music had never played drums, the brave drum dream girl dared to play tall conga drums, small bongo drums, and big round silvery moon-bright timbales. Her hands seemed to fly as they rippled, rapped, and pounded all the rhythms of her drum dreams. Her big sisters were so excited that they invited her to join their new all-girl dance band. But their father said only boys should play drums. So the drum dream girl had to keep dreaming and drumming alone. Until finally, her father offered to find a music teacher who could decide if her drums deserved to be heard. The drum dream girl's teacher was amazed. The girl knew so much, but he taught her more and more and more, and she practiced, and she practiced, and she practiced, until the teacher agreed that she was ready to play her small bongo drums outdoors at a starlit cafe that looked like a garden, where everyone who heard her dream-bright music sang and danced and decided that girls should always be allowed to play drums, and both girls and boys should feel free to dream. The drum dream girl's dedication and persistence not only changed her life, but also changed her community and society. There's power in our passions and our imaginations. Now, let's go back to our classroom while Reverend Robin and the grown-ups continue to explore. If the adults along the center aisle will form a bridge, we'll sing the children out.
So I'm going to invite you now into that quiet space. In the middle of our service, we do have a quiet, more meditative time to get more in touch with our bodies, and a number of people brought up their physical state in the joys and sorrows. The past couple weeks, I've been doing some meditations based on the chakras, and we briefly are going to start with the root chakra and move in to a meditation about the 4 elements, which play such a role in the rituals, ancient and modern, the earth, the air, the fire, and the water. So close your eyes if you're comfortable and put your feet on the floor. That's an important part of this one. And open your arms, maybe rest your hands gently into your lap and drop your shoulders. And take a big breath, big exhale. Just a big exhale to start. And drop your shoulders as you do that. And really breathe into your body. Don't have it be a shallow breath. Do a couple of those to start. Just release. Then I'd like you to focus on where your feet are planted on the ground, as close to the earth as we're going to get in this room. And that's the root chakra, the red chakra that roots us to the ground. Feel yourself rooted here and breathe. 4 beats in through your nose, 5 or 6 beats out through your mouth in a steady, intentional rhythm, not too fast. Let it open you, help you become spacious, and just breathe. 4 beats in through your nose, 5 or 6 beats out through your mouth. We begin with the earth element. Without thinking too hard, examine where and how you feel solidity and rootedness. This may be in your body. This may be in the chair you're sitting in. This may be in places of tension in your body, or the weight of your muscles as you relax them. So again, feel your feet rooted to the ground. Breathe. Drop your shoulders. Loosen your mouth, your jaw, and breathe. When you're feeling that rootedness, that earth element in your body, stay with it for some deep breaths. Continue to feel it deeper and deeper down into your legs and your feet and the ground. Feel solidity. Keep breathing. 4 beats in through your nose, 5 or 6 beats out through your mouth. Now move to the element of air. And an obvious place to start is breathing. Where can you feel your breath in your body? You may seek places in the body where you already feel spacious, and fill that with the cleansing of your breath. If you're closed, use your breath to become more spacious. Now shift your awareness to the water element. Tune in to the sense of liquidity or flow you feel in yourself. It may be literal liquidity, moisture in your eyes, saliva in your mouth, sweat on your body. Maybe it's the pulsing of your blood. Where is the watery flow of energy in your body? Can you envision that and enable it to bring you a sense of calm and a spaciousness? Feel the flow. Open up to the flow. Last, bring your attention to the fire in your body. Perhaps it's the temperature of the air touching your skin, or certain spots on the body that were warm or cooler than the others. Maybe it is a place of pain that you would associate with fire. Fire can be passion, fire can be pain. What is your passion? Perhaps use the water element to quench some of the fiery pain. And breathe. As we continue to breathe together, see if you can feel the 4 elements working together to create spaciousness and to support you in body, mind, and spirit. We'll just breathe in silence for a little while. Bring yourself gently back to this space with one big cleansing breath. take an audit of yourself and see if there are places you still want to relax, like your jaw, your shoulders, something else. And we'll sing our quiet song. We'll remain seated. It's another chant. It's number 387 in the gray hymnal, the earth, water, fire, air. We'll sing it 3 times, and Barbara will play it once through.
Who says we can't have fun? This is a reading from Annie Dillard, Teaching a Stone to Talk. At a certain point, you say to the woods, to the sea, to the mountains, to the world, now I am ready. Now I will stop and be wholly attentive. You empty yourself and wait, listening. After a time, you hear it. There is nothing there. There is nothing but those things only, those creative objects, discrete, growing or holding or swaying, being rained upon or raining, held, flooding or ebbing, standing or spread. You feel the world's word as tensions, a hum, a single chorus note, everywhere the same. This is it. This hum is the silence. Nature does utter a peep, just this one. The birds and insects, the meadows and swamps, and rivers and stones and mountains and clouds, they all do it. They all don't do it. There's a vibrancy to the silence, a suppression, as if someone were gagging the world. But you wait. You give your life's length to listening, and nothing happens. The ice rolls up, the ice rolls back, and still that single note obtains. The tension or lack of it is intolerable. The silence is not actually suppression. Instead, it is all there is. What have we been doing all these centuries but trying to call God back to the mountain, or failing that, raise a peep out of anything that isn't us? What is the difference between a cathedral and a physics lab? Are not they both saying hello? We spy on whales and on interstellar radio objects. We starve ourselves and pray until we're blue. It is difficult to undo our own language. and our own damage, and to recall to our presence that which we have asked to leave. It is hard to desecrate a grove and change your mind. The very holy mountains are keeping mum. We douse in the burning bush and cannot rekindle it. We are lighting matches in vain under every green tree. We teach our children one thing only, as we are taught to wake up. We teach our children to look alive there, to join by words and activities the life of human culture on this planet's crust. As adults, we are almost all adept at waking up. We have so mastered the transition we make 100 times a day, as like so many will-less dolphins, we plunge and surface, lapse and emerge, and the moon passes over the sun and nothing changes. And nothing is learned because you have lost your bucket and shovel and no longer care. What if you open your sack and find, instead of a treasure, a beast which jumps out at you? Or you may not come back at all. The winches may jam, the scaffolding buckle, the air conditioning collapse. You may glance up one day and see by your headlamp the canary kneeled over in its cage. You may reach into a cranny for pearls and touch an eel. You yank on your rope and pull yourself to the surface. Your heart beats like a drum, and you do not lay down. You dance.
When my now grown-up son, Sam, he's almost 38 years old, when he was a toddler, we had a cherished bedtime ritual. And after the grime of childhood had been wiped from his cheeks and his paws, and he had been tucked into his cozy bed, we'd read Goodnight Moon together, aloud, alternating the pages. I read it now with my granddaughter. It's a classic. He was too young to actually read, but he loved to turn the stiff board book pages and had memorized the order anyway, over time. One morning after we'd shared this ritual for many months, I heard Sam in his room upon waking up. his sweet voice carried down the hallway as I heard, "Good night, son. Good morning, son. Good morning, Murray." That was his Lovey, his little magpie puppet. "Good morning, Blocks. Good morning, Pillow." And then a little bit later, "Good morning, Toothbrush," and so on. His world was enchanted, like the world of many middle-class toddlers, and even brushing his teeth had taken on an element of ritual. How often do you brush your teeth? It sounds like a silly question, and your answer is most likely every day. You don't really think about it, and I doubt you chirp good morning to your dental floss, although if you do, it's perfectly okay. You do you. It just happens like clockwork. It's a personal ritual. And as a result, you have a whiter smile, less tooth decay and gum disease, and fewer dental bills. In other words, this simple daily ritual is perpetually transformative, whether you notice it or not. The renowned yogi Bhava Ram underscores this point, noting that as adults in this overstimulated and increasingly stressful world, it's difficult to create more meaningful rituals like our everyday ones. We often feel powerless to control what's going on in our head, much less stay focused and disciplined enough to make big life changes or commit to daily physical or spiritual practices. We even heard about that in our joys and sorrows today. We drink the January resolutions Kool-Aid and feel like a failure by March, and perhaps still in September, but there's still time. Advertisers and social media plant slick mantras in our minds, seducing us into believing that we can be happier, more successful, and sexier without making any deep, genuine intentions or commitments. Just join a gym or earnestly sign on to the paleo or keto diet, become an influencer, strap on a Fitbit bracelet, buy a yoga pass you might or might not use before it expires, consume an endless array of products, like the green smoothies or weight loss probiotics for women of a certain age that are all over the internet. Do they work? I couldn't say. Do they make promises they might not keep? Possibly. As a result, I feel that we have become at least partially estranged from our inherent power to grow, to heal, to manifest our fullest potential. And in spite of all the relative material abundance in our lives, or our heartfelt goals to deepen or improve, we may still despair over what feels like a half-lived life and feel frustrated and suffer. Whether we're able to access and articulate it fully enough, many of us seek greater wholeness, a communion with a more authentic and soulful existence, more meaning-making and less doom scrolling. One of the ways we pursue this is through our embodied and progressive faith here at Eastrose, and this is a sturdy foundation. And it's great to see so many of you in the room this morning, but it's not enough. The pursuit and practice of a spiritually mature life isn't, as I like to say, a Sunday morning do-it-yourself spiritual craft project. It's not a paint-by-numbers kit. So what can we do? What tools can we access to deepen into ourselves? In his book, The History of Religion in 5.5 Objects, my inspiration for today, the scholar S. Brent Plate offers some clues. He lays out how our ancestors before us have sought wholeness, connection, and spiritual grounding through rituals, as represented by 5 simple, tangible, familiar objects, all of which are on the table today: stones, incense, drums, crosses, and other religious symbols, and bread. In his introduction, he explains that the half in his title stands as a symbol for our incomplete natures, the need for the human body and the human spirit to be made whole by something outside of itself. He argues, and I agree, that modernity and distraction create disconnection from our surroundings, from each other, from our sacred sources, from the natural world, and from our senses. And as a result, we become, in his words, like floating islands. Professor Plate's 5 objects are a few of the pathways to finding that other half, or that missing half, or the important half, the non-physical, the spiritual, and ritualistic dimensions that complete us as human beings. Like the writer Annie Dillard, who we heard from earlier, Plate wants to help us wake up, find our buckets and shovels, honor the grove and the mountain, and say to the universe, now I am ready. Now I will stop and be wholly attentive. Plate begins his inquiry with stones. Many of us collect stones. I know I have a whole collection in my office. And he asks us to reflect on our relationship with the natural world. So I ask you, have you sustained a connection to the non-built environment? Do you walk among trees and by the water, in the mountains, breathing in brisk air or warming in summer sun? Do you have a relationship with your food? Where does it originate? How has the earth created it? And again, we'll be exploring that question together on October 6th. Do you understand the crisis and challenges of climate change and how it affects our immediate surroundings, the longevity of the planet and humanity? And again, we will be delving into that critical question next week on September 29th as part of the UU Climate Justice Revival with a guest speaker. And after the service today, you'll have an opportunity to talk more about that during our spirited conversations. Now, Annie Dillard tells a quirky story about a reclusive neighbor, Larry, who keeps a stone on his shelf, and he is ritualistically teaching the stone to talk. And we heard these excerpts. No one is sure how he's going to do it, but Dillard speculates that this activity is more about the need to listen, to hear silence. Yet the reverse is also true. Stones teach us to talk. Sure, you can go get a stone from a mountain trail or from a New Age superstore, pick it up, put it on your desk, admire it, pass it among the congregation to collectively bring communal energy to it. But more importantly, by touching that stone, you can touch the earth and let it touch you back. You can speak to and for the earth and listen for an answer. And we're very much in luck that Anne's beautiful exhibit is now hanging here, and I hope you'll take a look at it after the service. And she's here to answer your questions about that. In truth, the entire Judeo-Christian heritage, which we are descended from, was originally rooted in this very idea. Native Americans and First Peoples also venerate the earth and all beings, and Chief Seattle reminds us, this we know, the earth does not belong to us, we belong to the earth. Stones teach us that the process of awakening our other half involves intimacy with and stewardship of the natural world. So I ask you, will you set that intention to build a stronger relationship to the natural world? Now, although the spelling isn't quite right, the word incense, our next object, could be viewed as two words, in-sense, as in one's senses. Personally, I have a lot of associations with incense from my time spent in yoga studios and Buddhist dojos and the hippie shops of my 1970s youth. But the one that first came to mind was the memory arriving home when my son, that goodnight Moon Lad was a teenager and opening the front door and being smacked in the face with the scent of Nag Chapa, a particularly potent incense variety. And you can guess, as I did, that the incense was not some lofty accompaniment to meditation or spiritual growth, but rather a cover-up for other cannabis-related aroma-generated activities. Alas, teenagers. So I think incense and Nag Champa definitely comes to mind. But in his chapter on incense, Professor Plate asks us to consider how we might come to our senses, literally by sharpening our sight, our taste, our touch, our hearing, and especially our smell. Perhaps you know or don't know that the olfactory sense, the one associated with smell, is directly connected to the limbic system, the most ancient and primitive part of our brains, which is thought to actually be the seat of emotions. But smell is also a cultural and religious phenomenon. In the 18th century, philosophers deemed sight the superior intellectual sense, while smell was considered lower order or primitive, which I guess makes sense in a way, because it was primitive. We have all sorts of associations with smells. The emotional potency of smell was felt to threaten the impersonal, rational detachment of modern scientific thinking. But in non-Western cultures, smell was paramount. Some tribes, I love this, some tribes greeted one another not with "how are you," but rather with the question, "how is your nose?" And this helps explain the religious allure of smells and bells. And if you grew up Catholic, you are familiar with smells and bells. And from the Old Testament commandments in Exodus to the Iroquois burning braids of sweetgrass, cedar, tobacco, and sage, to the agarbado of Hindu sacred sites, to the swinging orb of frankincense in the Mass. Incense is used to venerate, bless, and sanctify, and its smoke conveys a sense of mystery and awe. It's meant to be a reminder of the sweet smelling presence of the sacred. The smoke symbolizing transcendence through prayer or practice or attention. It's meant to bring us to our senses. So how is your nose? Ask yourself, are you smelling but not inhaling? For that matter, are you looking but not seeing, hearing but not listening, touching but not feeling, eating but not tasting? Are you rushing all around all day or staring into a screen with nary a deep breath along the way? May your answer guide you on a path to your other half and your senses. In his chapter on drums, and we've heard drums today and how they affect us, Plate tells us that Charles Darwin, surmised that the beats, tones, and cadences of music preceded language on an evolutionary scale and brought beings together. Perhaps that's why the drum is one of the most essential and widespread musical instruments in the history of human culture. Drum beats knit us into a cosmic fabric, into the social fabric of families and friends, into the rich textures of religious traditions and tribes, invoking deities, protecting people, creating rain, uniting communities, and bringing tribal dancers to the point of ecstasy. Because rhythm is deeply rooted in the human body, and thus in the consciousness itself. The drum and the beat are intimately intertwined, and as the drum beat reaches the human body, it begins to move, dancing, tapping, praising, possibly meditating, possibly even going into a trance. Ask yourself, are you in your body? Ask yourself right now, am I in my body, or is my energy too inert? Are you connected to a passion and to the rhythm of being fully alive? If not, how might you make that connection? Is your other half waiting for you in the bright, hot drumbeat? Now I'm going to ask John to put up a slide that I provided for him. There it is. So the author moves on to crosses and the objects connected to religious tribes. And you can see the variety up there. You can see some of the more familiar ones. Thanks, John. You can take that down now. Thank you. The author moves on to crosses and, as I said, other objects. And, you know, the symbolism of the cross is clear enough. Yet, the different branches of Christianity reflect their theologies in the crosses they bear. And this is not merely a matter of design. So here's my tuition dollars at work. Catholicism, and you may know this, but Catholicism is associated with the crucifix, including Jesus on the cross, because they practice a Good Friday faith centered on the meaning of the crucifixion. Conversely, during the Reformation, Protestants came up with a different idea, and they favored an empty cross as a reflection of their Easter faith with the focus on resurrection. So this is very theologically based, and we are descended more from two increasingly liberal Protestant branches and are now non-creedal. But we come out of that tradition. The Jewish Star of David, the Mogen David, it's a symbol of modern Judaism. It only dates back to the 18th century in Eastern Europe, although it's inspired by the protective amulet known as the Seal of Solomon that was adopted by medieval Kabbalists. You may not know that the Star and Crescent of Islam is also quite modern, with ancient underpinnings emerging into popular use as recently as the 19th century as a symbol of the Ottoman Empire. When we encounter someone wearing one of these symbols, a cross, a Mogen David, a crescent or star, or some other symbol, we can fairly surmise that this person is devoted to the tribe they are part of, so devoted that they will wear a symbol of that tribe around their neck. Although, as an aside, I have found diamond-encrusted crosses a bit of a spiritual oxymoron. And I've seen plenty of those. We like to think, as mostly humanist, agnostic UUs, that we don't have rituals. Think of all the rituals we have in our service. Think of all the ritual objects we have around us, a gong and chimes and all sorts of things. We do have rituals, and we like our rituals and our liturgy. And as you can see, I'm wearing the symbol of Unitarian Universalism today, the chalice. And like the cross and the Mogen David, its origins capture something fundamental about our free faith and our values, and its presence on our chancel table is a half that makes us whole every Sunday. We light it every week as a ritual commitment to our faith and to one another. Two ancient archetypes, a drinking vessel and a flame, were brought together as a Unitarian symbol by an Austrian artist, Hans Deutsch, in 1941. Living in Paris during the 1930s, he drew critical cartoons of Adolf Hitler, and when the Nazis invaded Paris in 1940, he abandoned all he had and fled to the south of France, then to Spain, and finally, with an altered passport, into Portugal. There he met the Reverend Charles Joy, executive director of the Unitarian Service Committee. The committee was new, founded in Boston to assist Eastern Europeans, among them Unitarians as well as Jews, who needed to escape Nazi persecution. And from his Lisbon headquarters, Joy oversaw a secret network of couriers and agents. Deutsch was most impressed and soon was working directly for the USC, and he later wrote to Joy, "There is something that urges me to tell you how much I admire your readiness to serve, to sacrifice your time, your health, and your well-being to help, to save us. I'd like you to ask yourself and ponder during the week perhaps, is being a Unitarian Universalist a big enough part of your life? Do you intentionally walk our 7 UU principles or our newly created shared UU values? Do you carry the chalice flame and all it represents within you as you walk through life? And if not, why not? Are you connected to this place, this faith, enough so that you would wear its symbol around your neck? I'm not saying you must, I just wonder if you would. If so, there are lovely collections online. If not, how can you get more connected? How can we help you get more connected? And how might that connection bring you into deeper relationship with the half that makes you whole and with the world around you? And finally, there is bread. Mohandas Gandhi once speculated that with so many hungry people in the world, when God next comes to earth, it will be in the form of a simple loaf of bread, as close to the integrity of grain and water as it can be. Yet the sacred comes to us and acts through us in these most unpretentious ways, like bread, with common ingredients: the water of humility, the grain of compassion, kneaded by our justice-seeking hands, activated by the yeast of love, and baked in an oven of grace and gratitude. So my last question to you, for you to ponder: in our persistently segregated American places, where might we create a genuine welcome table, embodying equality within relationships, a place for bread and the table ritual of hospitality? I ask you to join me in that question and intention. And about now, you're probably muttering under your breath, "Thanks, Rev Robin, more to do." Swell, thanks bunches. I'm so glad you've added to my self-improvement list of things to do. But really, it's not a to-do list. It's intended as some questions to ponder for you to become more whole in small degrees, in your own way, with intentionality and rituals that you find meaningful. I've shared this motto with you before: small things often. Not big sweeping things, small things often. So I encourage you to find ways to embrace ritual and enchant or re-enchant your life with some small steps, and ask yourself, how might I come to my senses? Talk to a stone, be enlivened by a soulful rhythm, set a welcome table, embrace my tribe, sing good morning to the sun, and softly bid good night to the moon. Like Annie Dillard, you may glance up one day and see by your headlamp the canary killed over in its cage. You may reach into a cranny for pearls and touch a moray eel. Then you will yank on your rope and pull yourself to the surface. Your heart beats like a drum, and you do not lay down. You dance. So may it be for us. Blessed be, blessed we, and amen. Our final hymn is number 100 in the gray hymnal, Peace Like a River. Please rise as you are able.
Peace like a river,
Words for the offering. Freely we receive the gifts that minister to our needs in body and spirit. Gladly we bring to our church its wide concerns a portion of this bounty. Half of each week's Sunday collection is shared with a local organization doing good works in our area. This quarter, our sharing the bounty partner is Outgrowing Hunger. Outgrowing Hunger builds and operates community farms and gardens for refugees, immigrants, and people who care about affordable access to real food in Portland and Gresham. Nadaka Park Community Gardens, with its 62 plots, is one they operate. If you are a first-time visitor, please let the basket pass you. You are our guests today. Now we gratefully receive the gifts of this congregation. Our chalice flame is extinguished this morning. We can still remember that its glow is carried within us. We can still use our inner lights and this flame to kindle new sparks throughout our lives and in the world. May the spirit of peace and togetherness bless all of our lives.
Thank you, Suzie. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Karen, John, greeters, everyone who contributed to the service today. Our benediction is by my colleague, Aaron Stockwell. Let us be amazed. Let us be amazed. Let us search for new life and hope in our midst. Let us nurture creativity in every form. Let us be reminded that new insights of the universe are always being made. In this year, let us be amazed. Blessed be. Suzie will deliver the rest of the announcements. We are having a spirited conversations today. It'll be right here after you've had some coffee and had a chance to socialize. And Eric will be with me, and part of our conversation will be about the UU Climate Justice Revival that's next weekend. Lunch with the minister on Tuesday from 12 to 1. And again, the vegan potluck on October 6th. And there's something on the bulletin board, and you'll see something in Petals about that as well.
I have several announcements, not a lot. Veggies are in the Thatcher Room. Take home, don't be bashful. And this is by Keene. Also, there is a work party October 12th. It's a Saturday, 9 to 12. That means all hands come for the fall cleanup. And we will, if you don't have supplies, we will provide them. You might want to bring some gloves if you're going to be working outside. The fall hikes kickoff is this Wednesday with a walk on the Wildwood. Oh, on the Wildwood. We leave Eastrose at 8:30 on Wednesday. Contact Patty Walsh. Patty, raise your hand. She's right there by Tuesday afternoon. I have also an announcement. Today it's in competition, but not really. We are having a meeting for the auction, and anyone that is interested in helping out, please meet me in one of the classrooms. I will have some food. I am not above bribery. So you can come to mine very quickly, eat, say what you'd like to do, and then you can go and listen with Robin and Eric.
We don't have food, so. What can I say?
Yeah, that's
We have food for thought.
Well, you can eat the food, say what you're going to help with the auction, then bring it in, and maybe people go, oh, maybe I should go say what I'm going to help with the auction.
Just go with the auction.
Yes. Service is over. Have a great Sunday.